Y'all, I think telepathy is real. This is the most interesting thing going on right now in our culture. In these times. If you have not been living under a rock, these are the telepathy tapes. They talk about how nonverbal autistic kids and adults are telepathic, and they're proving it. I'm gonna tell you how, and I'm also gonna tell you why this matters for you, because it matters. It matters for everyone. So the podcast centers around Diane Powell. She's a medical professional. She has studied everywhere from Johns Hopkins. Just read her bio, it's like 12 million pages. She is working with this podcast, narrated by Kai Dickens. And on this specific episode, which I cried listening to, they talk about this one kid who had a seizure and passed in, I believe, the river or hot tub. He was a nonverbal autistic. And when he passed away, not only did other autistic kids know about it before he died or during when he died, but they were not told yet, but he came through to them after he died in ways that you can't fake. And if an existence of the afterlife that they're tapping into wasn't enough, they can telepathically communicate with their mothers, with teachers, with themselves. They communicate together at this place called the Hill. You can communicate with higher dimensional beings. Some of you, you're like, okay, right. It also talks about how they're doing a clinical study, peer-reviewed, I believe, with Faraday cages, and then being inside of them and still being telepathic, proving that it's not electromagnetic. Let me explain, because this is where it gets really cool. So a Faraday cage blocks electromagnetic fields. But here's the thing. Traditional science tells us that telepathic communication, if possible, should rely on electromagnetic signals, but it doesn't. If consciousness can travel through things that are not EM waves, what's it using? And I promise you, you're not going to doubt telepathy after you listen to this. No matter how logical you are. There will be a documentary too with proof. Yes, actual proof. It's undeniable. But what really gets me going is the field that has to make this possible that no one's really talking about. Even here, they call it the consciousness field. Guess what it is? What is this? Plasma. Remember Nikola Tesla, radiant matter, plasma? He didn't have the word for it back then. Why does this matter? Okay, so plasma in a lab looks very similar to ancient carvings. Weird. I think this has been harnessed for a very long time and is hidden knowledge, not so hidden now. There is something I believe is called a plasma field. There is science plasma, which is an ionized gas, the fourth state of matter. Very similar to Faraday cage looking. But plasma actually has an expanded definition that they don't really teach. It is metaphysical and paranormal, and it allows telepathy. How? There is a higher dimensional plasma that is in everything, out of everything. Think of consciousness being able to experience itself due to plasma. It needs the duality of something else. It's like the divine feminine is plasma, the divine masculine is consciousness. And to experience each other, they feedback with each other. Plasma is the vehicle for consciousness. It can hold consciousness. It itself is sentient, not conscious, and is the perfect medium at a higher dimensional level to carry our thoughts and emotions. If telepathy is using plasma-based signaling, or a consciousness traveling through plasma that is higher dimensional, it's almost like quantum tunneling, or like picture a human. I have blood going through my veins. Do you see it? No, because it's inverted. It's in me. This is how I explain the high waves of plasma. It is at a 4-dimensional level where consciousness is tunneling through. And on some deeper level, it's holographic, where the part holds all of the whole. It's paradoxical, I know. So not only in this dimension, in our reality, can consciousness travel around, but at the same time, even a particle of sand holds all the information of the universe, and it's accessible through this plasma field. So this Faraday cage, even though it's blocking out electromagnetic signals, we can still access this plasma field, regardless of electromagnetic waves. Listen, I know I'm hypothesizing, but I swear I'm onto something. Just let's wait and see. I'll eventually try to prove it one day, but I think this is a step to proving there is a field that holds consciousness. It can't just all be consciousness, undifferentiated. How else would these kids who meet at the Hill in some dimension or state, how would their consciousnesses be differentiated at that hill when they're talking? They're in a plasma field. And yes, at some level, I would call it the 5D level, like a fifth dimension, the singularity, whatever you want to call it. Maybe consciousness and plasma are the same thing. It's undifferentiated. It's a higher consciousness. But on some kind of fourth dimensional level, It feels to me their consciousness is playing in the plasma field and they just know how to use it better than us. But we can learn. It is literally like we're in a simulation that is spiritual and meaningful. Let's say there's a 5D, or let's say there's a mystery, God, higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it, other dimension of family, people, our soul family, our higher selves, whatever. Let's say they created this so they could experience all these realities through us or God, whatever. Plasma would be what makes up everything. Remember the Matrix and when there's goo on him? Okay, I would like to think the singularity or this God existence is way more magical than this, but he wakes up in this goo. I swear it's like a subconscious hint to that we're in a plasmatic simulation. We just can't detect this plasma yet because we don't have the right tools. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I really think telepathy proves that. It proves we're in some type of holographic universe simulation of plasma. Don't say I have it all figured out. I really just think there's something with this plasma. It is my special interest as a neurodivergent. In the telepathy tapes, they even talk about the possibilities of simulation theory and it being a spiritual simulation. So here's the thing. We know all this, right? Now what? How can we use this to help us? Because yeah, telepathy is cool and these kids and adults that have nonverbal autism can do it naturally, but they claim everyone can. Or I think it's claimed that everyone can learn how. And how do us, humans who aren't that gifted from the start that process? And I think neurodivergent people kind of are like halfway started. But either way, how can anyone start? And what does this mean for us, for reality, for our lives? Even if we're in a spiritual simulation, we're here to learn and evolve. So how can we apply this knowledge to deepen and expand our life here on Earth in the present where we are? I am writing all about this and the new human potential, learning about plasma and consciousness and how to use them as tools. My book is called A New Force. It will be out in a few months. My pre-sales are starting soon. You could go to the link in my bio. The main thing to know here is I can point you to things. I can help with your downloads, connect you to yourself, help with your curiosity, hopefully inspire you. But the real answers are in you. We are a part of the whole. We have all the answers inside of us. But if you're like me, you probably love reading books about metaphysics. And maybe some stuff will help you connect deeper with yourself and this plasma. Because plasma is the connecting glue. Plasma is everything. Well, I just love it. Okay, so let's just say we're in this plasma spiritual simulation that is meaningful. How can we reprogram our reality when we have fear, when we're anxious, like most of us humans? And even these kids, very gifted people, usually have the darkest challenges, the darkest battles. How can we transmute those? If we're in this simulation, we can technically reprogram how we perceive things. The only differentiator of this plasma field is consciousness. It's like the only differentiator of consciousness is plasma. What a paradox. Imagine we're all in a plasma bubble. There's an inner bubble and then the outer bubble of reality, which we're all a part of. It's a believed reality that we all share. That changes all the time. How can we program our plasma bubble using our consciousness? Because what you resist persists. Basically meaning if you view reality in a certain way, things will happen in your reality to teach you lessons. And then we're supposed to reprogram our bubble, and that's supposed to transmute our reality. So one of the things I'm writing about in my book is how do we reprogram this plasma bubble to change our outer perception or to change outer reality. If you've changed your beliefs before, this works. And beyond that, let's say, like I think, that this plasma is sentient and benevolent because it's programmed plasma. It's part of this matrix, this game that we can exit. If it's benevolent in a sense, it might not do everything we want, even if we have full control of our consciousness, because it might not be for our and the world's or this simulation's highest good. It can say no, just like God can. And you'll look back and be like, oh, thank God it said no. It happens. But maybe there are ways to strengthen our consciousness so we can manipulate this plasma. I don't like that word, but so we can caress her and make more things happen in our lives. Have a deeper life on Earth experience. More full of magic. Who doesn't want that? Magic, love, and connection? And it's possible. The link in my bio, you could sign up for my book that's coming out. Highly recommend this podcast, Telepathy Tapes. Let's just say if you assume you'll see good things, you'll see good things. Most of the time. Better than assuming all bad things and seeing bad things. but you have to heal yourself to get there.